everyone talks about male suicide. We've just had the worst year this century, so the last 25 years for male suicide. I think we can agree people are talking about the problem. You'll see it everywhere, but the issue's getting worse. So whatever it is we're doing isn't working. And I really encourage people to use something more along the lines of what I try to do, my approach to reducing male suicide.
I think awareness is a start point, but we've been aware of this problem for a number of years now, albeit some people still have their fingers in their ears, but they're maybe not the people that we need to appeal to. Awareness is a start point. It's not the end of the finish line. Awareness in some things can be the be all and the end all, but in this particular issue, just being aware that men are a danger to themselves and are in a terrible spot is not enough for us to actually move the dial in any form of direction.
No, well, I mean, it is the first step, but it's certainly not the final one. It's the only one I'm really capable of doing. Like, I can't do everything. I'm a professional content creator and creative strategist, so I'm good at raising awareness, I think. But I can't do much more than that. I'm simply not qualified. I always find it amazing that I'm even here now, where I have a degree, a Bachelor of Arts from a very average university, and I don't think I'm qualified to be here, but here I am. I'm the best you've got, and I'll try my best. I mean, I do talk to people like the NHS recently. I do consult with them. Last month I spoke to a room of maybe 60 senior clinicians who work specifically within suicide, male suicide, and I was just giving them an hour-long presentation, and it was bewildering. I was like, why the fuck am I here? This is crazy. And they were like, well, what do we do at NHS? How do we change? I was just, listen, I'm not going to sit here and tell the NHS how to restructure the way you work to reduce this. All I can do is my best, which is raising awareness. How the NHS do that is simply beyond my pay grade. I don't know. That's your job. And I've just found my own little corner of the problem that I'm desperately trying to ameliorate. And that is through awareness raising. But I totally understand that's not the end. That's not a complete solution, but it's all I can do really on my own.
At what point did you decide to grasp the nettle or take this dive into the abyss?
When I realised how poor of a job the left were doing around talking about men and boys advocacy in a really honest way. Like, I consider myself on the left. I was formerly a member of the Labour Party. I've always considered myself a progressive. I care deeply about women and girls and used to be a feminist. I've spent weeks on the street homeless, raising awareness for women who have been abused and trafficked and various other things. Like, I have a long portfolio of caring about women and girls. My issue was not that bit, but it was just the people that were talking about these things were not doing the same good work for men and boys. And in fact, they were doing the opposite. They were obfuscating, hiding, trying to diminish and minimize and deny entirely what men are going through. And I would be literally in conversations like this, like having dinner with friends at work, colleagues, or at the pub, and they'd be talking about things, and it just doesn't seem right. Didn't feel right intuitively. Didn't seem right in terms of my lived experience or the lived experience of men I know. So I'd go away and I'd do my work on a laptop, and I'd be like, it's not right, or it's not the complete truth. Like, this bit's right, but this bit's missing, the men and boys bit. And then I'd start putting onto an Instagram page just for my own personal private use called TheTinMen.
I heard you say before you were collating that almost to reassure you that you weren't going mad.
Yeah, it was like my ultimate secret weapon I had literally beneath the table. So whenever we're talking about women that are abused by their partners, I'd be like, that's really interesting, but can we please talk about the 750,000 men who comprise 1 in 3 victims of domestic abuse in the UK, although now that's gone up, it's about 40%. Can we talk about them? Why are we gendering violence against women as if it's ubiquitously against women when 1 in 3 victims are men? That's a decent question. And it wasn't just the questions themselves that were important. In fact, what was more important and more shocking to me were their lack of decent, honest answers, and often anger at me asking these simple questions. Like, you'd get the finger in the face. I knew you were going to say that, George, and this and that, and you're an incel, you're a misogynist, you're a sexist, you're a Z-list.
These are heavy terms that are used to shut down the argument.
Yeah.
For example, a lot more people are speaking about the culture that's happening within the UK of mass immigration and some of the challenges that are coming down the line of that. If you'd brought that up 3, 4, 5 years ago, bigot, Nick Griffin supporter, or whatever other term people could use to delegitimize you, I think the discussion in the men's space was being shut down previously by things like misogynist, bigot, Oh, do you want us to go back to the kitchen then? No, these are ridiculous phrases used to not take seriously a genuine point that someone's trying to make.
Well, I think they misunderstand me, or they deliberately misunderstand me. I'm not trying to deny what they're saying. I don't want women to go back into the kitchen. I come from a family of really successful, powerful women who have been the biggest role models in my life. In no way do I want that to return. I'm just trying to widening. It's yes and this. Yes, and we should also do this for men. Absolutely. I don't spend a huge amount of time talking about women and girls because there's other people doing it, and quite frankly better than I can. I agree wholeheartedly. I know loads of women that have had these horrendous experiences that break my heart, and I'm trying to add to the conversation to complete it. So yeah, it's slowly happening. A lot of the policies that I was called a bigot and an incel and misogynist for are now being discussed in Westminster. Like the Violence Against Men and Boys bill that I've been banging the drum for 5 years, that was a huge bone of contention that lost me friends, is being talked about in Westminster now. It's arrived, and I was like ahead of the curve. I feel like I was
catching up. Okay, that's
what a progressive is. A true progressive is not like acting as some sort of guardian of morality. It's throwing stones at popular convention. It's rocking the boat if needs be. It's challenging people. It's making people uncomfortable. It's asking unpopular questions that need to be asked. It's not about virtue signaling and all that sort of stuff. So that's where I diverted from my so-called progressive friends, and I was like, I don't think that you are progressive. I think you're status quo, and I think I'm the progressive. So yeah,
the status quo for the last few years has been that sort of, almost fourth wave feminism, where they've almost detached from all sorts of reality, because as you'll show in all your statistics, women are quote unquote bettering boys in almost every field, and that is not to say that we need to try and square it up so that women go back the way. We're just trying to lift men up to try and get back to some sort of parity as well. And the likes of you and Chris always share the stats around when Title IX was introduced in the 1970s. There was the skew with men on college campuses in the US versus women, and then we got to parity in like 1981. But nowadays it's basically the other way around, and there's no plans for a Title IX rerun.
Well, I wouldn't say men are doing better. Women are doing better in every area. I would say they're doing better in every area of education in the West, and they're certainly doing better in every area of health.
Yes.
But there's many points that women are behind that and deserve attention too. But you're right in that in 1980, I think it's 50 years ago, so 70s, that women, we all know, were behind in education. And then Title IX came in to correct that, quite right. In about 1981, we were at parity. So in higher education in America, there was the same amount of women and men in higher education. Great. And then we never took our foot off the gas. We carried on going with the affirmative action. And now the problem has now inverted and is now worse. There are more men behind or out of education today than women were 50 years ago. So the problem hasn't been fixed. It's just inverted plus interest. So the graph's like a big X. It's like women and men come down, they meet in 1981, and then they just carry on going. And there's still no awareness of that, let alone action to stop it. Like, at least take your foot off the gas. Let's at least stop making so many gendered scholarships for women. Like in America, women are ahead and have been ahead for my entire life. They're ahead in every area of education, and they're ahead in every single racial and socioeconomic group. Like, they've done it, they've done the job and some. So let's just stop with the gendered scholarships, or at least stop them for women, and then just try and get men and boys back into education. There's so much work that needs to be done. And it's only being done by people like myself, Chris, and you, in like podcast studios like this, not by politicians, as it should be.
It is frightening from that perspective, but I think the alternative media is growing in its influence, because that's what people are listening to and watching, rather than BBC, Sky News, ITV. I think post the C19 period, a lot of trust was broken with those institutions, even more than it already was. It was their kind of last hurrah to keep control and keep us all under their thumb, or at least under their influence. And I think the rise of alternative media, more people would say that they've probably listened to a podcast than read a newspaper in the last 3 weeks, let alone a day.
Well, I don't. I mean, I am obviously part of the alternative media, but I just try to see myself as like a mirror. I try to put my audience as close to the data as possible, and I'll just show you the latest grades from UCAS, and I'll just be like, this is the reality. I'm holding up a mirror. If you don't like what's looking back, that's not my problem, but this is the truth. I'm not filtering it through The Guardian or The Independent or BBC, where there's always some sort of political twist. I'm just showing you the data. Like, but the buttons I use most on my keyboard whilst creating work is just copy and paste. Copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste. I'm showing you data on education. I'm showing you data on health. I'm showing you data on domestic violence and partner abuse, sexual violence and stuff like that. And I'm just trying to show you the reality. I'm sure I'd add a spin. I'm biased too, but my main aim is just to, like I said, hold up a mirror.
Present the information.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. I hope you enjoyed that clip. For more on my channel, hit the link just here, subscribe, and you can enjoy the full episode.